Hey there, welcome back to the homestead. So today I am going to share two things with you. First of all, one of the topics is these. I have been meaning to talk about these for quite some time, and we will get to these in just a moment. But first, I want to talk to you about a collaboration. So, I, as you know, do lots of canning, and I participated in the Canuary collaboration with a whole bunch of channels. It was organized by Lisa from Sutton's Days, and you know, we really love doing it, and I still have a lot of things that I want to can this year. And so I thought, you know what, why don't we do another collaboration? So I decided to organize one for March. And now I am not a sports person, like, at all. But this whole idea of March Madness kind of inspired me to do a March Canning Madness, because it is the last ditch, can like crazy, get everything done that you want to get done before garden season comes in hot and heavy. You're out in the garden and you're just plain too busy to be canning in the kitchen. Or you've got other things that you need to worry about, produce coming in, tomatoes and peppers and just all the things, and you're going to have those that you're going to need to process. And so what happens, you probably got stuff in the freezer that's taking up room and you need to make the space. And so this is that last ditch, can whatever you need to can before garden season comes in, and take that opportunity. And so it is the March Canning Madness, and I did talk about it a little bit briefly a while back when I was still kind of in the planning phase for it, but it is all settled. We have all of the channels who are participating, we've got their dates set and everything, and so I wanted to go ahead and share with you all of the channels that are going to participate in the March Canning Madness collaboration. Now, these will be Monday through Friday videos all throughout the month of March. On one of the given days, or any of the given days, there will be one of the channels who are participating posting a video on their channel. And I don't have a stipulation where they have to do it by a certain time, like on my schedule. It's whatever time they normally share things on their own channels. But I will be putting together a playlist of all of the videos, and of course I will be sharing all of those videos across my own social media, including the community tab on my YouTube channel. So here is the rundown of the 13 channels who are going to be participating in this collaboration. We have A Farm Girl in the Making, myself, A Good Life Farm, Becoming a Farm Girl, Cattywampus Acres, Fermented Homestead, Freedom Homestead, Hamakua Homestead, Hidden Oaks Homestead, Over the Hoopy Farm, Rowan Co Farms, Stivers Homestead, That 1870s Homestead, and the Mennonite Farmhouse. And many of these channels you may already be familiar with. A couple of them are actually brand new YouTubers, and doing collaborations is just a great way to meet other channels and for newer channels to kind of get their name out there and give them a chance to be introduced to a wider audience. So again, there will be new videos going up every weekday all throughout the month of March, beginning March 1st, going Monday through Friday, all the way to the end of the month. And at the end of the month, I am going to be holding a giveaway, much like the one that Lisa did for the Canuary series. And this is something that I will be sponsoring myself. I am going to give away a steam canner, and it is a canner just like the one that I use all the time for high acid canning. I love this canner. It's lightweight, it heats up quickly, it cools down quickly, and it is so easy to use. And I have a video where I talk all about it, and I will put a link to that down below or up in a card if you're watching on YouTube. So to enter the giveaway, you will watch the videos, you will leave a comment on the videos, and every comment that you leave under the March Canning Madness videos will be an entry into the giveaway. So you'll definitely want to watch all of the videos and leave comments. At the end of the month, I will randomly draw one of the videos from the month. We don't know which one it'll be until the very end. And under that video, I will select one random comment, and that person will be the winner for the giveaway. And like I said, there's going to be a steam canner, and I actually have this in my possession. I have already ordered it. I already got it. And in the box with the canner, there's going to be some extra goodies put in. To include, there was a handmade trivet that I picked up at the Mercantile recently. That is one of the goodies that's going to go in there. There will be some canning lids from 4 jars and whatever extras I come up with along the way. I'll just have to reveal that at the end, and you'll have to pardon the goats. It's very overcast, so they think it's later than it actually is. It's actually early afternoon. But because it's so overcast, they think it's later, and I'm out here and they want my attention because they think it's dinner time. What? That's Vinny, by the way, back there. You can see him up there on his blocks. All right, so let's talk about loofahs. Now, a lot of people ask what these are exactly. And when you think of the word loofah, you think about that colorful plasticky thing that you might scrub yourself with in the shower. However, there's also a natural variety that looks a lot like this. And many people actually think this comes from the ocean, that this is a sea creature. But when they're thinking of that, they're actually thinking of sea sponges. This is not a sea sponge. This is a gourd that grows on a vine, and it grows prolifically. I mean, when you grow this in your garden, you've got to give it a lot of room. Now, I have grown Luffa Gourds several times now, and the first time I grew it, I had just loofah vines everywhere. It completely covered a trellis. It completely took over multiple trellises. It just went absolutely crazy. I compare it to kudzu. I really do. And I had all of this greenery. I had a few flowers, and then I didn't get any kind of loofahs until really late in the season. I mean, I don't even know if they started growing until like August, which by the time that rolled around, that was way too late. There was not enough time for those Luffa Gourds to fully develop and create this nice, thick, meshy substance inside, fibrous substance. And so none of those Luffa Gourds were actually really usable. And the following year, I didn't intentionally grow any, but one of these Luffa Gourds got thrown into the compost. And amazingly, that Luffa Gourd grew some vines out of the compost bin. I never did anything with it. The only water it got was from the rain. I never fertilized it. It grew in a actually very dry like corner, so it wasn't really in the compost pile. It was like near the compost pile. It had zero attention in a super hot summer, and there were Luffa Gourds all over the place. And so that got me to thinking that the first year when I grew it, you know, there's a lot of plants that if they have too much nitrogen, there's going to be tons of foliage, but not really any fruit. And so I realized after my little compost Luffa Gourd thing was that was probably my mistake, because I had planted the Luffa Gourds in a super rich, brand new garden bed. super, super rich soil, tons of nitrogen, tons of nutrients. And so this year I kept that in mind, and I didn't actually start any Luffa Gourds from seeds. I was, however, gifted some that were already started. And so I took those plants and I created a brand new bed. And if you remember back to last spring, I had a situation where I had filled some beds with some bad, depleted soil. And that actually ended up being a good thing, because those two little beds that I made all by themselves with their own trellis had that kind of sad soil, and that trellis went crazy with Luffa Gourds. Not just the vine, but I also had gourds. I mean, gourds galore. Galore. I mean, I didn't even count them all. There was well over 60 or more easily. And so I found that lesser quality soil, a little bit drier. You know, those little beds, they dried out pretty easily because they were pretty shallow. They did great. The Luffa Gourds did great. So with all that said, Luffa Gourds. So when you are growing these, you don't harvest them until towards the end of the summer, when the Luffa Gourds begin to start feeling dry. They're going to be really, really hard, but then as they start drying out, the skin on the outside feels looser, like it's moving on the body of the fibrous structure inside. And that's when you will want to harvest them. You don't want to let them go too long, because if they freeze, it can ruin the Luffa Gourds. So you want to harvest them generally before that point, before your first freeze. Now, I actually left my loofah vine out there on the trellis this winter, and I have a whole basket of Luffa Gourds like this that might actually still be usable. Maybe some of them, not all of them, but some of them. Now, these are the ones that I harvested before the freeze. So I harvested these. I let them completely dry out. I just put them in a basket with a lot of airflow, and so they look like this. The ones that I left out there on the trellis, they don't look so great. They're really spotty, where they've just been exposed to the elements and all that stuff. And that's going to affect the inside of the Luffa Gourd. So this is that pretty fibrous structure that's on the inside that you would use to scrub your skin in the shower or wash dishes with. Many Luffa Gourd seed packets actually call them dishcloth gourds, because people use these to wash their dishes. They work really well for scrubbing dishes, as a matter of fact. But they also work really well for getting dead skin and calluses off. But, you know, they get softer once they get wet. They actually get really, really squishy. And so they're not as scratchy as you might think. They're not like a pumice stone or anything like that. Now I'm actually going to cut one of these open. I'm going to make a great big mess, but I keep a broom out here in my greenhouse, so that's okay. So let me bring the camera around here, and I'm going to show you what's on the inside of these. Now you can actually harvest these before they're dry. You just want to make sure, again, that you're getting to where you can feel that firm fibrous structure inside, but then the skin of it starts feeling a little bit leathery and loose, and then you'll know that they're ready to harvest. The only downside is if you harvest them when they're still green and you cut them open and skin them and all of that, they can be really, really slimy. So you want to peel them and cut them apart and everything with some running water so that you can rinse it. It's super, super slimy when these things are wet at first. Now the thing is, though, is when you harvest them when they're still a little bit green and still a little bit pliable, they're a lot easier to peel. when they get to this stage, they can be a little bit more of a challenge. So I'm just going to show you a quick trick to this. And here's where I'm going to make the mess. You want to start crushing it, and what you can also do is you can kind of bang this against something hard. People will bang it on the sidewalk or a cinder block or the porch or something like that, and that will help break all this loose and get it off a little more easily. Now also, the more developed these gourds are, the thicker this fibrous material will be inside, and kind of like the better, more sturdy they'll be. If your gourds aren't fully developed, these are going to be a little bit thin. You'll be able to use them a little bit, but they're not going to hold up very long. Alright, so now I'm going to start just peeling this stuff off. And this is definitely kind of a front porch project. Alright, so already you can see the fibrous structure that is inside, and this is the loofah. This is what you scrub with. So I'm going to cut this in half, and you can see the inside. Now these plants have lots and lots of seeds. And when they're dry like this, you can actually hear them rattling around in there. You can see there's just tons of seeds coming out. And look at that. Lots and lots of seeds. Now when you're cutting these, so when you're cutting these to use, you can really cut them any size that you want. Some people will leave them in really big pieces to use for scrubbing dishes. So if you've got really big, thick Luffa gourds, you can cut them into thinner slices. People have actually made homemade soap with the soap or with the loofah inside the soap. So there's all sorts of things that you can do with these. Now, one of the challenges with the Luffa gourds is trying to get all of the seeds out. When the time comes where you're doing this and you're cutting them apart and you need to get all of those seeds out of this fibrous material. So the easiest way that I have found to do it is after I have completely peeled them and I have shaken out as many seeds as I can, I'll cut them to the size that I want, and then I'll shake out as many seeds as I can possibly get out. And then I'll take them into my kitchen, I'll fill the sink up with water, and I will just stick these in the water, get them soft, and just start squeezing, just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And the seeds will gradually kind of work their way out. And I will take I don't have anything out here with me. I'll usually take something thin like a chopstick and just kind of poke in there with the chopstick and push all of the seeds out of the fibers and push them out. And then once they're all out, I'll spread them out on like a paper towel or something like that, let them dry, and then those seeds can be used in the future. But as you can see, I mean, I only made one cut in this loofah, and I've got seeds everywhere already. I mean, there was that whole handful that I stuck over there. They're all over the counter here. There's some that fell down there on the floor, which means I'll probably have loofahs growing out from under my greenhouse this summer, because I bet some of them went through the cracks. Now when the Luffa Gourds start looking like this one got kind of mildewy, it didn't rot, it just kind of got that staining on there. And this would still be usable. When they look really good and clean like this one does, this is generally what it's going to look like on the inside. You have that kind of buff color loofah. When they get discolored, they're going to look more like this. And there's actually nothing wrong with this. It is still completely usable. You could, if you wanted to, rinse this or soak it in a little bit of very diluted bleach water for just a couple minutes and rinse it to bleach it out if you wanted to. But I mean, if you're just using this one, like say for scrubbing dishes or just a utilitarian kind of purpose, you really wouldn't need to do that. You can just use it like that as it is. But if you are, say, wanting to give them to somebody as a gift, in a little gift basket with maybe some soaps, some homemade lotion bars, which I have a recipe for on my website. I'll put a link down below. Then of course you would want to give them the nicer looking ones, and you wouldn't want them to look ugly when they so easily look like this. So, well, that is it. I hope that answers all of your questions. If you have any other questions about growing Luffa Gourds, the only other tip I can recommend, and I kind of touched on it, is if you grow Luffa Gourds, give them a lot of room. A lot of room. Like, put them on a trellis, let them grow somewhere way away from everything else. This summer when I grew those Luffa Gourds, they completely covered the trellis. They swallowed up the table and chairs underneath it. They traveled across the ground. They went to the fence. They went to the tomato bed next to it. They went to the flower bed on the other side, and they creeped their way into the blueberries. They were everywhere. Now on the upside is if they do start going crazy like that and you need to contain those tendrils that just go everywhere, you can totally just cut those off. It will not hurt the plant. They will keep growing and growing and growing. So the first year that we grew them, we had ducks and a goose that lived out in the front garden, and I missed them terribly, but they loved the Luffa Gourd vines. They devoured the leaves. They devoured the little bitty tendrils that would come off of them. It was like a delicacy to them. They absolutely loved them. And they are absolutely edible, like for your goats and stuff too, so they enjoyed them. Speaking of goats, I will put a link down below to all of the channels that I mentioned who are going to be participating in the collaboration, so be sure to subscribe to them so you don't miss any of the videos. Thanks for hanging out with me here again. My name is Constance at A Good Life Farm, and I'll talk to you all next time.